Hello and welcome to episode 29 of the Imperfect Image podcast. I'm Jordan and I'm solo today. I'm actually 100% exhausted. A few long days at work and I don't know. I'm just tired today, so deal with it. So if I'm a little bit low-key, then, suck it up. That's just the way it's going to be. I was trying to think of some shit to talk about this week because I don't have Ashley. I'm still in the works of trying to get a Trav Science Lab going, and quite frankly, I don't have any other co-hosts. So currently, we're just going to play with my brain. And if you want to take that dirty, then take that dirty. Speaking of dirty, let's get right into it here with what's exciting me right now. I've kind of just spewed my thoughts on a page here. I've got a mix of music. I've got some Netflix suggestions. I think I've made this podcast suggestion before, but fuck it, we're going to do it again, as well as just some other stuff that's exciting me in life. And then after that, we're going to get into This Week in Sports, because I know you all love hearing about sports, and especially my wild obsession with English soccer, even though you probably don't give a fuck about English soccer. So, here, deal with it. So this week, first of all, is brought to you by coffee. Because I'm boring, I gave up drinking, and there's no marijuana today. Or at least for now. We'll talk about it later. And by we'll talk about it, I mean me, myself, and I will talk about it, and we'll figure out what we want to do. Let's go into things that are exciting me right now. So things that are exciting me right now, number one, I got an office at work. I might have mentioned that last episode, but you're going to get to hear about it again, because this is pretty cool. I've been waiting, what did I figure it out to today? I graduated in 2004 from high school and started real jobs from there. Never had an office then. Went into, I managed a indoor golf range. Was never actually given the role of manager because the owner, I don't know, didn't want to promote me or whatever it was. Maybe he'd have to pay me too much. I'm not sure. Never got an office then. And then I moved into the fitness industry after that, and I've been working at that for, I think we figured out today, I've been there for at least 7 years, if not more. I thought it was more. Documents don't say it's more. I don't know who's right. I can't keep track of that shit. But never had an office until now. I've kind of used an office here and there, but now I've actually been given a role where I get my own computer, my own logon, my own everything, which is fantastic, because if I just want to sit back and take my shoes off for a little bit, I can do that. And I'll tell you what, walking around a gym all day long, your feet get awfully sweaty, and there's nothing like kicking your feet or kicking your shoes off and just airing those bad boys out. However, I share this office with a gentleman, so if by any chance he ever listens, I'm sorry, my feet fucking stink, but you know what? That's just the way it goes. Past getting an office, let's see, what else did I put on this list? So there's some music stuff. I've been in this mood lately where, so we got a Google Home speaker a while ago, so you can just say something like, hey Google, play whatever, right? And whatever ends up being some pretty awesome stuff. So I'm going mostly stuff from my childhood, but I don't know how to put this. I mean, stuff from my childhood, there was the stuff I would have discovered in my childhood. So we're talking, say, Green Day, that sort of thing, that era, like the 1994, 1995 kind of thing. I was in sort of later elementary school, and just you start to get into that phase as a young man where you're starting to figure out, okay, this is who I am, right? A little bit's influence from your family, a little bit from your friends, and you start to get an idea of where you fit into the world. So where I fit in, I was just going to say where I fat into the world. I think that's one of those Freudian slip things there. I might need to look at my self-esteem. Where I fit into the world at the time and continuously till now is I do like that, that, I don't want to say counterculture. That's not really the way that I'm trying to portray it, but kind of, the punk, the metal, that sort of thing, more aggressive music, but the whole thing started with Green Day. So I was I was at elementary school, and I had not a daycare, but like a before and after school program, which is funny because I ended up working at that before and after school program after high school, which would have been my first job in sort of the recreation industry. Side note, sorry about that. So I'm there with a buddy. His name was Morgan, which is a stupid name, and now that I know more about him, I thought he was a stupid person. And if you're ever listening to this, Morgan, you were cool for a while, and then you fucked yourself over. And I'm still holding the grudge because that's who I am. So Morgan and I are listening to music, and he's got this album by a band called Green Day. Album being Insomniac. And there's a song on there called Stuart and the Ave. I don't even know what the fuck it's about. I think it's about a lost fucking kid standing on a corner being a piece of shit. But hey, that's what punk music was in the 90s. And in Stuart and the Ave, there's this, kind of build up, and then sort of a drop, and the drop is fuck. They just blurt it out. But there was always this excitement of, we'd be playing a game on one side of the room, and you'd hear this build up, and then fucking sprint for the radio so you could turn it down so none of the instructors or caregivers or whatever ever heard the word fuck. Because if they heard the word fuck, that thing would have been off so fast. Although they missed a whole bunch of comments about methamphetamine and wasting your life and masturbation and that sort of thing. So maybe the word fuck wasn't that bad in the first place. Anyways, you can decide that on your own. Back to it, there's other music from my childhood that was not so much stuff that I would have discovered or would have discovered through friends. It would have been the stuff that I heard from my parents. So my parents being born in the 50s, children of the 60s anyways, they listened to a lot of things like Simon and Garfunkel, the Beatles, the Everly Brothers. If you don't know the Everly Brothers, look them up. They listened to a lot of Beach Boys. So this music was the music of our car trips. Say we would go to Vancouver, that sort of thing. We listened to a ton of Beach Boys, Everly Brothers, Beatles. There was always like the Raffi and that kind of stuff for kids. But the stuff of my parents that we listened to still sticks with me. And I still think it's good quality music. So lately, I've been playing a lot of Beach Boys, which, as I say, punk and metal and that sort of thing, you wouldn't expect the Beach Boys. But realistically, all I'm concerned about, again, this is that imperfect image thing, all I'm concerned about is good fucking music. I don't want absolute bullshit pop crap where they use fucking words like lit and fucking shit like that. I can't stand that stuff today. But for some reason, that pop music of the, say, 60s, 50s, 60s, 70s, that kind of thing, fucking still resonates with me. I'm still into that. I love it. You could throw in the Beach Boys and just kind of get... I think part of it is I get just transported off to, a sunny beach in Mexico, drink in hand, and just chilling out. Not like here in fucking freezing-ass Airdrie with a coffee. Jesus Christ, I'm lame. But you get transported to that beach and kind of a cool time, right? Where it was free and you're a teenager and you're going around and, there's chicks over there and we got our car and it's just like this fun teenage game sort of thing. But it's a reminder of... I don't want to say it's a reminder of better times. It's not better times. This time is the best time. But it's just it's a feeling of a different time, right? It's a feeling of even a different location. So maybe it is that it's winter right now and we live in a wintry fucking country. Or maybe it's just that, life is kind of complicated right now, right? I've got more responsibility at work, baby on the way, life is changing like crazy. But there's still the Beach Boys. And that music will never change, right? Even Green Day changes. They've changed their sound. I appreciate it. I don't know if I appreciated it, say, when Warning came out in the 2000s, and I thought, where the hell did my Green Day go from Dookie, Insomniac, Nimrod sort of era? But, things change. It's just that the music of the past, sort of this classic rock or classic pop or whatever, doesn't change, and we feel really, really nostalgic about that because we can always go back to that time, right? happy road trips with the parents, sometimes happy road trips. And I remember even things of, actually, beach, right? We used to go out to White Rock, BC, and we'd spend plenty of time on the beach. Maybe not the best weather, but we'd wander the beach and, pick up clamshells or whatever, or those, I don't remember what they're called. Like, I think we call them like sea dollars or something like that. They were kind of like they were a circular, almost like a petrified thing. Come to think of it, I don't even know if that's a real fucking animal or not, or if it was just a design in a rock. I think I'm going to have to look that up. That's very interesting. But yeah, I look back to those times, and I think that's why that music it still just hits me. It is fucking catchy too. And I don't usually love stuff just because it's catchy, but it's catchy mixed with other things that really mean something to me. So that's something I've been throwing on a lot lately. But I've also been doing more the sort of junior high through high school years, but not as much of the metal stuff that I used to listen to. I call it 90s alternative, but I don't know what it would technically be. 2000s pop punk or something like that. It would be the Blink-182s. Actually, just before I started this, I had Blink-182 on. Songs like Josie, songs like Dick Lips, Dumpweed, those types of things. Fucking stupid names, but great songs. Great memories. And I've been listening to a ton of Goldfinger lately. I'm pretty sure I had recommended the album The Knife by Goldfinger. The Knife, like kitchen knife, not the night, like night and day. But if not, give that a listen. The Knife by Goldfinger is the newest album, and from what I could fucking see, they haven't had an album in quite a while. Or I'm just making that shit up because I'm on a podcast and I don't feel like looking it up. Because like I said, I'm tired and fucking lazy today. Coffee break. Goldfinger was one of those ones, they've always been there, right? I would have discovered them from Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, and I believe it was Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2 that had Superman on it. Still one of my favorite songs of all time, probably top 2-ish, right? The impression that I get by Mighty Mighty Boss Tones comes up a ton when I think of favorite songs, and Superman by Goldfinger comes up a ton when I think of favorite songs. But the rest of Goldfinger's library, like I can't say as though there's a song that I don't like. The only thing I'm not a huge fan of was back in the 90s mostly, some of these kind of pop punk or punk bands or whatever you will would always put prank phone calls on their fucking albums, and it always drove me absolutely nuts. It was kind of funny at the time, but now when you listen back to those albums, you're looking for the nostalgia of the songs, and you hear these same stupid-ass fucking prank phone calls that you've heard for years, decades even now. I don't need to hear that shit anymore, and I actually skip them most of the time. Sometimes it's kind of funny to go like, oh yeah, I remember that, but for the most part, like, prank phone calls, really, guys? That just doesn't need to happen. There's caller ID now, too. It's not a reality of our life. I'm trying to find if there's anything else on my list here. No, that's most of the throwback music I've been into. But now that I'm thinking about it, I think after this, when I go down to read a little bit, I'm going to put on some Phantom of the Opera. Oh, shit. That's going to be good. I'm not going to say a whole bunch about that, but Jesus Christ, I love that soundtrack. So next thing, this is gonna feed a little bit into my other podcast. If you want to give that a listen, look for Real Fitness for Real People. That's my more professional podcast. I swear less. I talk a lot less about drinking, a lot less about weed, that sort of thing. And generally have intelligent thoughts. So maybe give that a listen. I think that would be a good idea. I think people would like to listen to me on something else. But there's this new thing that happened. It's very, very interesting to me is, for me right now, I've been eating a lot better. I've been trying to eat a lot better, I'll say. Creating better habits, like having better breakfasts, more filling breakfasts. I've been eating less times a day when I'm kind of finding that I think I used to trick myself into thinking that I needed to eat more, if that line of thought makes sense to anyone out there. Instead of having, say, 4 to 6 meals a day, I'm realistically having, say, 2 to 4 meals a day, and finding that I actually stay pretty satiated. So that was interesting me, and just coincidence, at the same time, just in the last week or so, the Government of Canada put out their new Canada Food Guide, which is a fairly drastic change from something that they put out, I think it was 14 years ago, if you can imagine that. So 2005, if I'm doing my math correctly. That's a long time to go without revisions. We've learned a lot in that time about nutrition, as well as I think there's a different mentality in general, right? It's not just now about nutrition for the body. It's more about nutrition for the human, but also food for the world, right? We're looking at sustainability as a big one. Something like the meat industry is not overly sustainable. The meat industry, there's a lot of data out there that says that the meat industry is potentially, if not definitely, worse for the world than the oil and gas industry. And that's the agricultural space that it takes, so the land use, the fucking destruction of the land that cows cause. The cows themselves produce methane gas. As you've heard, they fart a fuck ton. But there's tons of stuff. Like, their feed sucks. They take up too much space. Red meat is fine for the human being, but as far as I've ever read, not necessarily as overall nutritious as the leaner meats, that sort of thing, white meats, or even pork in some cases. So, I'm sorry, I'm getting a little bit off track there, but Canada put out a new food guide, and I just wanted to touch briefly on what it looks like. So if you picture a plate and draw a line down the middle, and then bisect one of those halves by another line. So now you've got 2 quarters and 1 full half. The recommendations on the new Canada Food Guide are 1/2 of your plate should be fruits and vegetables, or you might think 50% of your nutrition or diet should be fruits and vegetables. A quarter of your nutrition should be something to do with protein, whether it's meat protein or otherwise, plant-based protein, and then another quarter of your diet should be more carbohydrate-heavy, whole grains, rice, all those sorts of things. So it's interesting to see how that's changed. There's no space now for dairy, just for example. Dairy is, again, in the meat industry, and it is not necessarily something that the human body needs past breastfeeding when someone is an infant. So take that for what it is. Look it up. You can just Google Canada Food Guide 2019 and read for yourself. There's some interesting documents that go with it that explain why they've come to these conclusions. And I like having those resources around. In my profession, I just printed a crap load of them today so people could take them home from the gym if they wanted. But just keeping in mind that not only are we looking at what foods we're eating, but in what proportions we're eating also. So when I say half fruits and vegetables, I'm talking about 50% of the stuff that we eat should be fruits and vegetables. That's not only good for our body, but sustainable for the environment. I just thought that was a really interesting thing, and that's exciting me right now. The next thing we'll just touch quickly on again is I'm really, really freaking excited for the upcoming golf season. It's going to be an interesting one. I will not be playing as much as I did last year, but I've got this mentality this year of I have always been a very good golfer, but I think I can be an exceptional golfer. I've got a natural athleticism to me. I seem to be able to work a golf ball. So in the golf world, when we say work a golf ball, it means when you hit a ball, it almost never goes actually straight, right? Everybody's worried about hitting it straight, but it doesn't realistically go overly straight. You either hit a draw, which for me being a right-handed person would be the ball would start right and come back to the left, or you hit a fade, which would be the ball starts left and comes back right. I'm very good at those types of things. I can work my body, giggity, in a way that allows for that type of thing to happen when I want it to. I have a really good feel. I'm tooting my own fucking horn here. I like this. I'm feeling real good about myself. I have a good feel for, you picture playing, say, bocce ball or something like that, and you've got to land the ball nice and close to the little small ball, whatever the fuck they call that. I'm going to call it the target ball. That sort of thing, or like a fucking ring toss or baseball or whatever, where you have to get something a certain distance, right? Throwing a pass to your friend. I don't know how far they are, but just looking, you can kind of go, oh, I need to throw it about this hard. I have that kind of feel with my game, so if I'm 200 yards out, I can not only pick the right club, but feel how far I need to hit the thing. Or if I'm 20 feet away, I can feel how hard I need to hit something and what type of shot I need to hit. Yeah, I'm really liking this. I'm tooting my horn like crazy. A little toot there. That was me tooting my horn. But the whole game just seems to make sense to me, and I don't think I've ever really given it the right mentality. It's always been like, this is a struggle and it's a war. It's a fight to the death. Instead of just, I enjoy this, and I'm actually fairly good at it. So putting the work in for me isn't even really work. I enjoy going to hit golf balls. I don't know why I go and hit the range and get mad at myself or anything like that. It's like going playing fucking soccer. I just like kicking a ball with people. I like having someone to pass a ball back and forth with. But if I don't have someone, in my youth, not that I'm old right now, but in my younger youth, I was more than happy to go to the school across from my parents' house and throw a ball against the wall or kick a ball against the wall for hours, like a ton of hours. I mean, I would spend half my day out there, or kick a ball down the field, run after it, turn around, kick it again. Like, it was just this movement practice. And it's something that I don't do a ton in my adult life, and most of us don't. There's professional Jordan again. Most of us don't move the way that we used to when we were kids, but we could. If we made time for it and stopped making excuses for it, we could do that. And I think that's something I need to do with golf. I've just convinced myself. There you go, everybody. I've convinced myself that I'm a good golfer and that I can still get better and that I enjoy practicing. That's fun. Next thing on the... Oh, fuck, I forgot to mention, though. We're going to be spending a ton of time in Radium, BC this summer. So not only am I going to get to play golf here at Carstairs, where I normally play, Carstairs, Alberta, but also out there in Radium. And there's a ton of nice courses out there, and I think I might treat myself a couple of times to like a really nice round. And it would be fantastic if someone wanted to pay for that for me. Just throwing it out there. Maybe there's like a foreign listener that just wants to wire me some cash with no expectations of blowjobs. They just want to give me money for golf. That would be grateful. Thank you so much from South Korea. Another thing, where am I at here that's exciting me? Okay, so I've said this before. I guarantee I've said this before. There's an Irish guy, calls himself Blind Boy. It sounds so much cooler than when he says it than when I say it. But still, Blind Boy. Check it out. Blind Boy Podcast. I've got it on Stitcher. For some reason, I can't seem to get it on Google Play Music. Maybe Google doesn't exist in Ireland. That's a joke. Google exists everywhere. Thank you, Google, for helping with my life. You are an actual god. That's funny. I just said thank you, Google, and my phone popped up. Oh, it didn't do it that time. Every once in a while, if I say, okay, Google, my phone... Oh, there it goes. My phone got that one. Or if I say, hey, Google... Yeah, got that one. What about... Yo, Google? No, not that one. So, if... Ireland, Google... Blind Boy Podcast. So, there was a really, really neat thought on the podcast today, that I listened to today, and it was something about... You're expected these days to be all or nothing, right? And this very much fits into this imperfect image. None of us are all or nothing one way or another, right? I mean, you don't have to think of yourself as communist or fascist or conservative or liberal or metal or pop or whatever. You can kind of enjoy all of it, and you can sit somewhere on a spectrum, and you can fluctuate whenever the fuck you feel like on that spectrum. So they were talking about, and the example they used was cat person, right? And if you say you're a cat person online, but then post a picture of you with a dog, oh Jesus Christ, the criticism that you're going to get. And I'm not even going to say criticism, fucking death threats, because no, you said you were a cat person. And that's just a very interesting sort of psychological, sociological thing that we have these days. Maybe because of the online presence and everything is tracked, so we know if you said you were a cat person. But I just wanted to remind everyone, you don't have to fucking sit one way or another. Like, I have 2 dogs, but when I went over to Ashley's place the other day to take care of their cats, by the way, she's in fucking Las Vegas right now, and the only golden portion of that is that she's coming home today, and it is miserable as shit outside in Calgary, and I love that. So fuck it. I so hope that they only took t-shirt and shorts and they come back and are absolutely freezing. But like, not to death, just mildly uncomfortable, where you go, damn, we should have made a better choice. And then they're going to hear this and they're going to be like, fuck, Jordan's in our heads. So, Jesus Christ, how the fuck do I do this? I just jump on some... How did I get to Vegas and then coming home and cold and uncomfortable? Oh, I went to their apartment to take care of the cats. I'm definitely a dog person. If there was an end to the spectrum, I would be very far dog. However, I can appreciate a cute fucking kitten, so they've got this little black new kitten. And the other 2 orange cats are cute. They're fine, whatever. The one's pretty friendly, almost like a dog. Comes to the door and welcomes you and rubs against your leg, which I don't like. I don't need some cat's hair on my leg. But so be it. That's what happens. And then they've got this little kitten that was just terrified of me. Like, Jesus Christ, what is this guy with half his face covered with a beard doing in here? I don't know this person. Oh shit, he's going to feed me now. I love him. It was fun anyways. Well, it was mildly fun anyways. At one point, all 3 cats liked me, which was pretty cool. But you just don't have to be so black and white one way or the other. It's kind of, it's a coffee or tea person. It's a, I don't know, rum or vodka person. It's a beer or wine person, right? I'm a wine person. But every once in a while I have a beer and I feel really guilty about it, but it's so fucking delicious. I love that shit. You don't have to be one way or another. So that was Blind Boy Podcast. That was what was on my list. And then last one, I think, I don't know if the series is over or how it's going, but there's a Netflix show right now by Conan O'Brien, and it's called Conan Without Borders. Highly suggest it. Whether you like Conan's humor or not, there's some really funny political stuff. There's an episode where he was in Italy and basically spent the entire episode making fun of his producer who took him to Italy. Fantastic. I will admit that I was a little bit stoned while watching most of the episodes, but there were a few points where I was laughing so hard I could not breathe anymore, and it was uncomfortable and dangerous. And then yesterday when Lauren came home, I showed her parts of this Italy one, and she even laughed. Yeah, at a comedy thing that I enjoyed, Lauren laughed. She doesn't like my jokes. She doesn't like my humor. But when I can make her laugh, or when I find something that makes her laugh, it is way more worthwhile than making somebody else laugh. So, Conan Without Borders. We are actually almost at a half hour here, which I don't normally last this long on a solo podcast, so this coffee must be working. The next portion of this I wanted to get to was This Week in Sports, because there were some actually pretty interesting things that happened. The first one I want to mention was very sad, very odd, came out of England. There's a player, last name Salah, not Mo Salah, that plays for Liverpool, worldwide phenom, but club record signing for Cardiff City, who are right now down in sort of the second league championship. but have been in the Premier League in the last few seasons. They signed a guy from France who is of Argentinian descent. He got on a private jet, or a small jet, I should say, from France to Cardiff, which is actually in Wales, but we'll say England for, this podcast. The plane didn't fucking make it. As far as I've heard, even from, say, about 45 minutes ago, they haven't found necessarily remains of the jet. They found pieces floating in the ocean, but he didn't make it, which is a very, very weird situation. Sad situation, and if by chance anyone from his family or England or Wales or France or fucking anywhere is sad and they're listening to this, I'm not very good at this, but, my condolences. It's just absolutely insane that someone is here at one point and gone, seconds later. It's a hard thing to wrap your head around, but I'll try not to be too sad about the whole thing. I've cried enough on this podcast in the past. Very strange, right? You make a signing, he's on his way, and doesn't make it. So, regardless of the human component to it, there's also an interesting, they've paid a lot of money for this player, and realistically are probably not going to see that money again. I'm sure there's insurance and that sort of thing, but it's a weird world out there, right? The idea of paying for a human. Yes, you're paying for their services and that, but I will be the first to say, in soccer or football or whatever you call it, it does feel very much like you're paying for a slave. You're paying for someone who is going to represent your club, put everything on the line, blood, sweat, tears, that whole thing, forego a ton of their life just to win games for you so that your club can become bigger and have more money to then spend on other slaves. Very, very weird. Anyways, that was the sad portion of This Week in Sports. The stupid portion of This Week in Sports is the fucking NFL. Number 1, the playoffs have been very exciting. Number 2, what the fuck is with the officiating? Number 3, what was number 3? What the fuck is with the fucking Jesus Christ fucking playoff? The game makes no sense. The overtime makes no sense. You finish the game fucking tied. Great game. Absolutely insane. And then you go into overtime and basically a coin flip fucking determines the outcome, right? My team wins the coin flip. We have a chance to go down and score a touchdown or a field goal or a whatever the fuck you want to score. We score a field goal, the other team still gets a chance to score. If we score a touchdown, the game's fucking over? How is that goddamn fair? I can't get this rule. It's worse than fucking diving in soccer. Fuck all of this talk about diving in soccer. This is absolute bullshit. I cannot stand it. It ruined the weekend of sports for me because I know the Patriots were going to win. That's fine. The Patriots are phenomenal. They're a dynasty. They are the shit. They are the most successful fucking North American sports franchise that I can think of right now or even in the last week. But still, there has to be some fairness. You go down and score a touchdown, the other team needs a rebuttal. They need to play at least another quarter of football, is my opinion. There can't be this sudden death idea. That makes no sense. It makes sense if both teams have the same chance. You take something like the NHL. They do a 3-man overtime now, and it's sudden death. Both teams have equal chance to score, and don't tell me that the defense has a chance to stop the offense in the NFL. Fuck that shit. There needs to be equal chance for them to score the same amount of points, and if it's fucking tied by the end of a quarter of overtime, you know what? Play another goddamn quarter. Half your fucking team sits on the bench the entire time, and they're well rested. I played football. I coached football. I know that you can be well rested in the time that it takes your offense to do their fucking thing and punt and turn it back over to the defense. I know that for a goddamn fact. It's absolutely ridiculous. Nearly as ridiculous as the officiating. There is corruption in sports and I don't fucking like it. When I'm talking about England soccer and how much they pay for players, it's a small glimpse into how much money there is in professional sports. Billions and billions of dollars from team to team, league to league, that type of thing. You cannot have officials out there that miss a call like happened in the Saints-Rams game. It was absolutely ridiculous. The game was over because of it. It fucked a team over and sent maybe the wrong team to the finals. I don't like it. It really, really frustrates me. It frustrates me in, say, soccer when there's, an offside call that they miss and there's a goal, or that they call and wasn't actually offside. That frustrates me. And it frustrates me more so when it's one of the last plays, a determining play of one of the final games of the season in one of the biggest sports leagues in the world. You have video refereeing. You have to, I don't even want to say video refereeing, video replay that the referee can go look at, and it would take half of a fucking second to replay that thing and him go, yeah, by the way, that was a flag. There are so many goddamn referees on a fucking football field, and I think they just added one. Maybe that was just the CFL. But there's a lot of fucking referees or linesmen or officials or fucking stripey dudes. Someone needs to throw a goddamn flag there, or someone needs to take a goddamn look at what the fuck happened there. I don't care if it's the last 2 minutes and you're trying to speed up play and the coaches can't challenge it. There needs to be some way that this changes and you don't make these mistakes again. And if you have not seen this call from the Saints-Rams game, go look at it. You don't have to be a football fan to see that that is an absolute blatant fucking penalty. If the defender is not even looking at the ball, looking straight at the receiver, bowls him over, takes him out of bounds, before the ball gets to the receiver, it is a penalty every single fucking time. It's the easiest thing in football to call. You don't have to be a genius. And then there was something else I was going to say that was really heated, but I'm already heated enough. Now I'm going to have a sip of coffee because my fucking throat hurts. That was good. I got very excited about that. And if that upsets you, I'm not sorry. Go look at the play. It was absolutely ridiculous. Oh, I know what I was going to say. The fucking defender went into an interview and went, yeah, I was looking around to see if I was going to get a flag because I did that blatantly. I knew it was going to be a penalty, but I had to do it to save the play. He said it. It was after the fact, but he owned up to it. If he can own up to that, then the referees are fucking idiots. Every single one of those guys in that game, every referee, linesman, video, whatever, needs to lose their job. And I'm going to go as far as to say every single person who's making rules in the NFL needs to lose their job and they need to start fresh. This is one of the most ridiculous things I've ever seen in sports because the player even said that it was a penalty. I'm irate. That's it. I'm irate. We're moving on to something happy. The fucking Flames are winning. I don't know how this is possible. I'm gonna take a step back. The Oilers are losing. Look at the roster of the Oilers. Look at the money that they've spent on these players. Look at the names. Connor McDavid is almost undoubtedly the best player in the NHL, and since Sidney Crosby is probably the best player we've seen. Maybe better. That's potential. Maybe better. If they are losing, again, everybody in their back room needs to get fired because they should be dominating everybody. Then you look at the Flames. Name 2 players, I'm going to say name 3 players on the Flames that nobody on any other opposing team wants to play against. I mean, if I walked on the ice and you said Zdeno Chara is out there, I'd be like, fuck, that dude's big. But you know what? There might be a way to beat him. If you said something like, Sidney Crosby's on the ice, I don't want to play against that guy. He's really fucking good. If you said Connor McDavid is on the ice, again, I don't want to play against that guy. I'll take it to soccer. You want Cristiano Ronaldo to be hurt when you play their team, and you hope to shit that Lionel Messi has some sort of a bug and can't run because you don't want to play against him. I don't ever look at the Flames and go, man, I don't want to play against Sam Bennett. That doesn't happen. You may be able to argue now that teams formulate a plan to deal with Gaudreau, Monahan, etc. You may be able to say that. But I still don't believe that they are the same name and the same fear level as, say, a Sidney Crosby or a Malkin or a Ovechkin or a Connor McDavid. I don't think they have that. And we've got an entire team that seems to be built up of guys that maybe kind of didn't fit anywhere else, or this is their first foray into the NHL. But holy shit, they're winning. We're fucking amazing. I have to assume it was a coaching change. I have to assume that the culture in the locker room has changed. I'll liken it back to Manchester United as well. Mourinho went out, Solskjaer came in, managerial flip-flop, not flop, but flip-flop, and everything has been different. We're the old United again. We're winning. We're scoring goals. We're winning by slim margins. We're winning by big margins. This is the Flames. They're winning with 7 goals. But they're winning those 3-2 games as well. It's absolutely mind-boggling, and I am like boner excited because the team's finally back. Now, I'm hoping that this can last quite a while, as we had the one foray into the playoffs a few years ago, and when I say a few, it's more than a few and further back than I like to admit. However, it didn't last. I would hope that even if the Flames just made the playoffs and got kicked out in the first round, that they could come back next year and have the same sort of enthusiasm and win games and get into the playoffs. Calgary is a city that loves its sports team. I said team. I didn't say teams, because no one really cares about the Stamps or the Roughnecks or Calgary fucking FC Cavalry, Calgary Cavalry. Although I do want to watch a game of them this year and see kind of what level the football's at, the soccer's at. Okay, my voice is actually sore, so I'm gonna stop. I hope that my enthusiasm, which I did not expect to get that excited about anything. I hope that enthusiasm kept you somewhat excited for this episode. Once again, I'm hoping to have a co-host next episode, and if not, you will either get one of two things. Very excited Jordan, as you did today, or you will get sad, pathetic Jordan, who, you know what, I haven't done a sad podcast in a while. You know what, next time I should try doing a podcast just about the upcoming birth of my daughter. That will get me weepy, I'll tell you what. Thank you again for listening. I would love to get your feedback. imperfectimagepod@gmail.com. And I think there was another way to reach us. I don't remember. It's been a while. But it would be fantastic to hear some opinions. Share this show with your friends. I really would like to get some listeners. I think it's just an ego boost. But it also shows that just sitting in front of this microphone on a weekly basis is for something. We get a decent amount of downloads, more than I might have thought we would, and more than people that I know, which is the exciting part. So someone's listening to this out there. Reach out to me. Send me an email. I'd love to hear from you. If you're getting this thing like Google translated into Spanish or whatever, I don't care. Send me a Spanish email. I'll Google translate it back. That would be fantastic. It would be a fun thing to do. But I want to hear from people. I want to hear, things you like, things you don't like, how much you hate me, whatever it is. It would be interesting to hear your opinions. Have a great week. We will chat with you sometime. Thank you for listening.